about to pop my fucking retard meds. Oh, god damn it. Oh, bugga bugga. Oh, I'm so fucking retarded. Look at me take my retard meds. Look at me go. Oh, bugga bugga. Oh, look at me go with these retard meds. I'm so fucking retarded. Oh, if he wasn't a CHOMO, I'd feel sorry for him. You know, being all senile and puppeteered by all them boys like that. Oh, hey, how you doing, guys? Welcome to CG Woo. This is the show that showcases the Fortean, the weird, the occultnic, and whatever the fuck else I think it's cool. And if it's Comicsgate and Fandom Menace adjacent, then that's fucking tits too. I am your host, John XD, or whatever the fuck I'm deciding to call myself today. I have popped in my retard meds, and we're gonna go for episode motherfucking 12, Dirty 30, of the CG Woo Woo. And even though we're going to get later into the Fortiana, and that's going to be the cooler and more interesting thing, let's get this huge spectacle out of the way. I watched the Disney Doctor Who special. I can't even say it without laughing. I mean, you know, I've already, you know, beat this horse to death, and I think everyone in the Fandom Menace and Comicsgate has already beat this horse to death, but, you know, all you can do right now is, you know, give the same predictable responses to, you know, all the totally transparently pandering crap that Disney continues to put out. And, you know, any snarky thing you could come up with to parody this wouldn't be as absurd as the actual product. The reason everyone was freaking out about South Park Enters the Panderverse is because it was 100% accurate. There was really no exaggeration or real element of absurdism in that parody. It was more like a documentary. So, poor beleaguered David Tennant. I mean, he really is my favorite Doctor Who from the resurrected Doctor Who series, which is now dead to me. You know, thanks to Chris Chibnall. And, you know, I want to get this out of the way from the beginning. You know, I'm an old Whovian from the very early days. I mean, when I was a kid in grade school growing up in the 80s, you know, Doctor Who would be on the original BBC Doctor Who would be on PBS on Sunday night, like midnight. And then, you know, if you were still up at 1 or 2 in the morning, Red Dwarf would come on. So that was a really, really awesome time to watch some cool science fiction when you were a kid growing up and you were staying up way past your bedtime on a school night. But, and I was totally into the new series when it first came out on BBC America, and but you know, ever since Stephen Moffat retired, and he was really the best writer that they had for the new series. You know, not even, you know, the return of David Tennant could polish the turd of Chris Chibnall's horrible, you know, pandering writing. And I want to say from the beginning that I think Jodie Whittaker is a great actress. I mean, I've followed her stuff, you know, for years on BBC, and she's done some really good work, and it's really sad that. And I've even thought that a female doctor would be a really interesting, you know, direction to go. You know, 20, 30 years ago, I was thinking this, and you know, unfortunately, you know, a great actress like Jodie Whittaker, who in another time, another place, with a better writer and no bullshit pandering politics, you know, she could have been a great female doctor. But you know, she was just it was just the perfect storm of being at the wrong place at the wrong time in history, and you know, it was a real waste of her talent. But like I said, it was predictably pandering in every possible way, and you would have had to have brought out the big guns to try to polish that turd into gold. And as pandering as it was, the only way you would have done it is to have made fun of it, the whole time, you were doing it, and hoping that they let you get away with it. I mean, you would have had to have brought out the big guns like Nick Cage or Ron Perlman. Like, those are the best actors in the business, in my opinion. I don't care about what their politics are, but I've seen them polish some turds into gold. As far as bad writing goes, they're the best actors in the business. And but I don't think they could have saved Disney Doctor Who. This is fanfic. Disney Doctor Who is Doctor Who fanfiction. The Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who was the death of Doctor Who, but boy oh boy, Disney Doctor Who is just fanfiction, just, playing with a corpse, misappropriation of a corpse, mishandling of a corpse. You're playing Weekend at Bernie's with Doctor Who's corpse. You finally exhausted all the regenerations out of it. You and your stupid identity LARP exhausted all of the lives out of Doctor Who. Cheers.
Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. Who the bloody hell could that be? I'm working a ritual. Enter. Yes. Who are you?
Are you this boy Crowley?
Yes, you still haven't answered my question.
I'm with the Lodge. I'm with the Solemn Lodge, the Magical Lodge. And you, sir, have revealed the solemn secret of our entire order.
I revealed your magical secret, you say? And what would that be?
You know very well what that secret is. The secret of our entire lodge. Butt, sex, and heroin.
What?
You heard me, Crowley. We are a butt, sex, and heroin lodge. A solemn butt, sex, and heroin lodge.
There is a butt, sex, and heroin lodge? Hail to the brothers and sisters of the solemn butt, sex, and heroin lodge. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Okay, although this is a review, this is actually a Fortiana / true crime review. So this, isn't really pop culture, even though it's on HBO Max right now. It's the documentary film about Mother Goddess, and I had never heard of this unfortunate woman before this happened. But having been fascinated with cults, that's the area of true crime that fascinates me the most, because it dovetails into Fortiana. You can really see, not just a mass psychosis, but you can really see on a microcosmic scale just what happens on the macrocosmic level with some spiritual paths that, shall we say, are being puppeteered by the Spider / Black Lodge. And those of you who are in the know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. But And if you aren't familiar with the Black Lodge, there are several books about it, and it's not difficult to Google it or to find some YouTube videos. But I don't want to go off on a tangent about that. But back to what I was saying about the Mother Goddess documentary film on HBO Max. You know, and I'm giving my honest opinion of this, and I hope people don't perceive what I'm about to say as prattling on like some type of virtue signaling cunt. But I just want to say that I was saddened, outraged, and horrified by this documentary. And it's one of the saddest stories I've ever seen, and it's a perfect example of how there's more than just mass psychosis and mind control and something that can be psychologically explained at work. This is a perfect example of a woman who a woman who was, very, very naive, very unstable, had, a history of abuse, most emotional, mental problems. And then she discovers this pantheistic spirituality when she sets out on her own after abandoning her children. And she drinks the Kool-Aid to the point where, not only does she realize that everyone is God, but having realized that she is God, she realizes that she must be God in a very special way. And so she ends up using the last bit of her beauty and charisma to, lure people into a group and to found a cult. And it probably wouldn't have become what it was if it wasn't for the fact of one particular, disgusting individual that, lured her into making it into some sort of money franchise, and then, essentially engineered her attracting a group of NPC types who could be easily puppeteered into, unwittingly being proxies for a type of Munchausen by proxy syndrome, where they, literally starved this woman to death. And the horrifying thing about it was that she had drank her own Kool-Aid to the point that, she was ordering these people as God to starve her to death because she had to make the ascension to the next level. And this is a perfect example of how, you can get a very, very nasty lower vibrational entity attaching itself to you. And, it not only feeds off of your energy, but if you have, divinely given things like that it could never generate, like, beauty and charisma and, a deep spiritual potential or a deep spiritual soul, and one of these things attaches itself to you and starts feeding off of you, then it can use the last bits of beauty and charisma that you have to lure, NPC types who are like empty vessels into, sort of doting on you and being your sycophants, and, creating this elaborate web where, you're just enmeshed and it ends up feeding on you. And, you can watch this happen in being filmed in real time in this documentary, and it's very, very sad. But that is the first item. Okay, and now for the really cool Fortiana. Today we're going to talk about Kenneth Grant, the Typhonian Order, Typhonian OTO as it is formerly called. and we're going to talk about the tunnels of Set. I remember 25 years ago, it was 1997, 1998, so 25, 26 years ago. I had gone to Borders. I'm so sad Borders isn't around anymore. I have so many happy memories of going to Borders. But going to Borders and purchasing the hardcover edition of Kenneth Grant's Cults of the Shadow, which was the second book in the Typhonian trilogy. And for those of you who don't know what Typhonian magic is, I'll give you just a brief little synopsis. Essentially, Aleister Crowley started the Thelemite religion, which was the ecclesiastical wing of the Ordo Templi Orientis, which was an occult Freemasonic lodge that existed before Aleister Crowley had joined it. But I sort of depicted it in parody in the little comedy skit. But essentially, the head of the OTO, who I believe his name is Royce, confronted Crowley and said that in Crowley's writings on sexual magic that he had revealed the secret of all magic and the secret of their brand of Freemasonic magic. And Crowley was quite taken aback by this. He said, I discovered this, through his own, magical workings and revelations, but, instead of them locking horns about it, he ended up joining the OTO and eventually becoming the head of the OTO. And so he was part of two magical groups, the Argentum Astrum, which he had started after he was kicked out of the Golden Dawn. And now he was also a member of the OTO, and then he had started the Thelemite religion, and he had started a Gnostic church and a Gnostic mass that was attached to that. But at the end of his life, Aleister Crowley died in 1947. And if you see pictures of him at the end of his life, he looks nothing like even the pictures of the plump old man that you normally see. He looks very, very skinny. He had grown like a long type of goatee. He almost looks like what Gerald Gardner looked like if he had shaved his head instead of having that that mess that looks like a comb never touched it. But so towards the, it was this Aleister Crowley, towards the end of his life, that had encountered a young man by the name of Kenneth Grant. And Kenneth Grant ended up becoming Crowley's personal secretary. Crowley was in utter poverty because he had long since squandered his family fortune, and he was addicted to heroin. And he was actually given heroin on a regular basis that was supplied to him by the British government, because he had done work in British intelligence as a double agent during both wars, actually. That's documented in the book Secret Agent 666. I forgot, I don't remember the name of the author, but he's done several interviews promoting this book, and you can find it all over YouTube. And anyway, because of these contacts, and also because he was actually prescribed heroin in the 19th century ever since he was a child, because that was the only thing that was effective enough to treat asthma at the time. He was essentially a heroin addict all of his life, and he really couldn't help it because he had been addicted, physically addicted to this substance from childhood. So, not to say that he wasn't an utter antinomian in every other aspect of his life, but be that as it may, he wasn't, he was very poor at the end of his life, and he wasn't able to pay Kenneth Grant for being his personal secretary. And so in exchange for, collating his works and, for future publication, he would initiate Kenneth Grant into magic. And, considering the type of magic that I and many others have made fun of, you can imagine what that initiation involved. But, so Kenneth Grant, after Crowley died, for a very brief time, he became the head of the Order Templi Orientis. And there was a parting of ways with he and the mainstream Ordo Templi Orientis, because he started incorporating the mythology of H.P. Lovecraft and the Cthulhu mythos into magical workings. Invoking, gods like Cthulhu and Yog-Sothoth and Nyarlathotep as god forms. And apparently there were, muckety-mucks in the OTO that took issue with this. And so, he parted ways and formed his own Typhonian OTO. And now it doesn't even call itself the OTO, it just calls itself the Typhonian Order. And Kenneth Grant died in 2011, but he had published several books, and they were out of print for a very long time. I mean, they weren't out of print at the time that I bought them in the 90s, the hardcover, but at the time they were only available in hardcover, and even at the time it was pretty expensive for the 90s. I think I paid like $50 for that. And nowadays, if you want to find those hardcover books, sometimes they're anywhere from $400 to $800. But fortunately, Starfire Publishing, which is the publishing house of the present head of the Typhonian Order, has now made these books available again, and they have also made them available for the first time in paperback. And the paperbacks are about $20, $30, but that's, better than shelling out several hundred for, to get the same book. So they're utterly fascinating. What Typhonian magic is, it has to do with the tunnels of Set. But the reason it's called Typhonian magic is that, it refers to the Dark Mother, or the Dark Mother Goddess, which in the magical system of the Ordo Templi Orientis and Aleister Crowley's magic system is the Egyptian goddess Nut, or Nuit, as they call her in the OTO. And she is the goddess who has usually is depicted with long red hair, and she has like dark navy blue skin like the night sky, and she has golden stars, speckled all over her body. And she's usually depicted, hunched over in an arch, with her feet and hands, touching the ground, and, her torso arched over, like a canopy, because she is the night sky. And then her brother is the earth god, Geb, who is, usually beneath her at her feet, the earth below the sky. And it's really interesting, because in Egyptian mythology, it's one of the few systems where the sky god is female and the earth god is male, whereas, it's usually in all societies, all ancient cultures, the sky god is always a male god, female god is an earth mother goddess, but not in the case of the Egyptian cosmology. And with, this mother goddess is, essentially, seen as like the primordial serpent goddess. And, in Sumer, this is, she was called Tiamat. And in this crypto-Crowleyan, or continuation of the Crowleyan system that Kenneth Grant developed in the Typhonian OTO, they refer to her as Typhon to differentiate her function as the dark goddess in the tunnels of Set. But she is essentially Nuit, the same goddess, and they call her Typhon to, give her a, designation as the serpent goddess. I believe in There was also a serpent goddess called Nikarsag in Sumerian and Babylonian mythology. But anyway, the primal mother goddess, who is, who corresponds to Bina on the tree of life, corresponds to another sphere on, the Qliphothic tree. But the Qliphothic tree is essentially the flip side of the tree of life. It is accessed through Da'at, which is, the invisible Sephiroth that isn't numbered, which is in between Tifereth and Kether, and that is the boundary of the abyss. And in Crowley's magic system, there is something called the Oath of the Abyss. And when a magus or an adept gets to a point where, they have squared their will with their divine will, they've squared their will with God's will, and when they've done that, they've participated in compelling the universe to obey that will. When you get to that status, it's a magical divine status. This is according to the cosmology and the teachings of the OTO. And so what you do is you take the Oath of the Abyss, and there are certain magicians who, become selfless and become divine beings. But there are other magicians who decide instead of daring to pass on to the Ein Sof, or to the three Sephira, who are their manifestations, Kether, Bina, and Chokmah, they decide instead to become black magicians. And these very powerful masters, actually, I am going to define what the Black Lodge is. These very powerful masters are sort of like the opposite of the ascended masters that you would see in the Theosophical or the later Guy Ballard or Mark and Elizabeth Clare prophet systems. These spiritual good guys, like the saints in Catholicism and Orthodoxy. They have, the devil and the evil beings have their legion of doom as well, and this is the Black Lodge. And Tao Allen Greenfield, who's a fascinating character. He's, as far as living magicians, he's kind of like a Lecomte de Saint Germain or Count Cagliostro. He's really one of those enigmatic figures, and the only one who comes close to him is the person who ordained him a Gnostic bishop, which is Michael Bertio, who's also still alive, and is also mentioned in the book The Cults of the Shadow. As I said, I bought The Cults of the Shadow in the 90s, around 97 or 98, and it talks about some of the magicians who Kenneth Grant drew upon and networked with to incorporate into his Typhonian system. And so basically, when someone navigates the tunnels of Set, it's basically going to the flip side of the tree of life. If you know what the tree of life is, that's the Kabbalah. In the Jewish Kabbalah, you have the Sephiroth. But there's also a dark tree of life, and these are made up of broken, empty shells, which were, the attempt of Yaldabaoth in the Gnostic mythology of, trying to create life the way its mother Sophia did. And when it did this, it created these, lifeless homunculi that were empty shells. And so it had to essentially siphon more of the life force off of Sophia that it fell into her creation. And this is essentially the tree of death, whereas things that are lunar and solar and polar, stellar in a way that draws you to ascension, those things are positive, but whereas things that are like that are like Tartarus, because Saturn is part of the sphere of Hokmah, but let's remember that Saturn even has a light side. The Elysian fields are there. That's essentially what Hokmah is, strength. But Tartarus is the utter hell, the realm of the demons, and that's essentially the Saturnine aspect of the Qliphoth, of the Qliphothic tree, the tree of death, whereas the sun and the moon are positive, are positive forces that give and take in ways that are proactive for you. Saturnine energy is parasitic, and it drains you of your energy. It is like an energy magnet, and in certain mythologies, Tartarus being the realm of where the demons are entrapped. I have imagined and coming up with ideas for stories and just building my own mythology, writing my own gospel, creating my own myth, as Miguel Connor says on Aeon Bite. But the Ring of Saturn is seen as something that keeps the demons entrapped within Tartarus, which is the planet Saturn is seen as like a physical manifestation of this deeper spiritual reality. Because I'm gonna comment a little more about this, but I'm gonna say something that some of my fellow ortho bros like to say, but this is going to be in a completely different context. But it's not either or, it's both and. What has always turned me off to, being a practical magician as opposed to a theoretical one, who, the practical magic that I do has to do with modern meme magic, which is sigils. Sigils are the modern memes. They're the power that that can be used most effectively through this conduit of the Black Mirror phone that everyone has with its plasma fire. It can be used for good or it can be used for evil. But you put memes out there; those are modern day sigils, and given the scope and the reach that social media has, you can plant something into, people's subconscious, right where they're sitting, in a restaurant or in their home on their couch. People that you don't even know, you can put an image and plant it in their subconscious mind. They don't even have to consciously notice it. So, that's the type of practical magic that I've done. But as far as necromancy or invoking spirits, even spirits that you consider to be benevolent and not lower vibrational spirits, I don't do that because, being an Orthodox Christian, if you're any type of, trad liturgical apostolic Christian, you already have a very powerful, very high form of theurgy that you engage in regularly if you're practicing your faith, your spiritual tradition. And so to engage in invoking these very same entities in a way that's foreign to your tradition and your experience and your grounding, you're going to get results that might not be very, very good, in the sense that you may be deceived and, conjure something that says it's one thing and is actually another thing. And, you'll be more accountable because you should know better. But then again, let's say for the sake of argument, you're a pious, you're a pious devotee of your, trad church, be you a Latin Mass Catholic or an Orthodox or a Uniat or Byzantine Catholic or non-Chalcedonian or Assyrian Church of the East. you know, you already have a very high, very powerful theurgy that you engage in on a regular basis if you attend, you know, liturgy and partake in communion and partake of those sacraments, because they are empowerments and they are theurgy, they are God work. And especially in Eastern Orthodox Christianity, which is my own practice, it is even, you know, overtly theurgic, in the sense that you are God working, in the sense that you are becoming a God with a small g. Um, you know, you become by grace what God is by nature, because, you know, God wants to share his life with you. But so you're already invoking the names of the saints on a regular basis, and you're befriending them, and, you know, you're in an intimate relationship with them when you pray to them. There are entire Akathis services written to these saints that you can read out of your prayer book, in addition to just, you know, praying to them off the dome. So why would you draw a protective circle and ring a bell and call out the names of these saints that you already, you know, these angels that you already have icons to, and you're already praying to, and you're wearing this weird costume, and you're saying these Hebrew words, and, you know, that aren't your prayers? You know, let's say, for the sake of argument, the Archangel Michael does appear to you, and he sees you standing there on top of the flip side of a twister board that you painted a circle in, and you're wearing some LARPy Ren Fair robe and a Burger King crown, essentially, and you're sitting there looking like a dope, and he's going to say, "What are you doing?" You know? And in fact, something tantamount to that did essentially happen with a friend of mine. I think I talked about this earlier, but yes, he is essentially in the process of converting to Orthodoxy, and he said that he stopped practicing ceremonial magic because he actually told me that he conjured the Archangel Michael, or no, it was the Archangel Raphael, and he said that Raphael actually appeared to him and told him, "Quit it, stop it." So, you know, that I hope I didn't ruffle too many feathers with that, but I'm just saying that, you know, it's wrong in the sense that it's just redundant, you know, for someone who is already a part of a very powerful theurgic tradition. So, you know, that's a very roundabout way of me saying, you know, that's why I don't, you know, invoke entities, and, you know, I stick strictly to the sigil work with, as far as practical magic. Now, as far as theoretical magic, you know, I've studied as much as you know, as has interested me and has come into my scope. But that is what we have to say about that.